the supernatural.
Download the Legacy Edition of Spirit Blade, a full past audio drama, for free at spiritblade.com.
Hey guys, Peter Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, continuing my celebration of UN-E3 2020, this time reacting to the Ubisoft Forward event. There were a lot of games shown. There was, certainly some things that I have no interest in, like mobile game stuff and a very Fortnite clone-looking Battle Royale game, and a few other odds and ends, so I'm not going to comment on all the things that they shared, just the things that really would be of interest to me, provided the games, when they come out, are quality experiences. The first thing, and this was actually in the pre-show that they talked about, was Ghost Recon Breakpoint's addition of AI squad mates. This is something that was promised to come after the release of the game. I think it was at last year's E3, they said after release, AI squad mates will be coming, and I had really hoped it would be coming sooner than it has, but finally it looks like it's here. They have announced that July 15th, so that's just a few days away from as I record this, that is going to be brought back into the game. It looks like it's going to have all the features that I really want to have. The one thing that wasn't clear to me, it looks like you can give commands to your squad mates, very much like in Ghost Recon Wildlands. They said a little bit about your squad mates in vehicle situations, and that's what I'm most hoping they'll be good for. I mean, Sync Shot 2 for sure, and that's back, and so that looks like that's going to be great. And in fact, you can combine your squad mates' sync shots with your sync shot drone to take out, like they said, I think a total of 7 targets all at once, so that sounds really cool. But it's the driving that I really want to know if they can handle. Can the squad mates take control of a vehicle while I handle the shooting, or can I control the vehicle while I trust them to take care of all the shooting that needs to be done? That I really enjoyed those kinds of open world missions and chases and stuff like that in Wildlands, and I haven't been able to enjoy them as someone who really prefers playing games single player in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So I'm looking forward in just a few days to seeing what the case is with that. There was some other updates and improvements that are going to be coming to the game as well, but I'm not really going to talk about those. What I will mention next is Watch Dogs Legion. This one's coming out October 29th, and I'm going to, I think, come back to mentioning that date in just a minute here. I think it's a very significant release date. So we saw the different character types that you can recruit and the different skills that they're going to have. I don't feel like in this presentation of the game we got as much gameplay and mechanics information as I really wanted. They had a short film that they showed beforehand, and they showed lots of thematic things about this guy's a construction worker, so he uses a nail gun. This guy's a rough and tumble bar fighter, so he does hand-to-hand combat. This lady can control drones and da-da-da. And so we saw those things in action. What I really want to understand is, more specifically, what the mission structures are like. In fact, this is drilling down a little bit, and maybe I'm expecting too much to want this kind of information at this point. But I wanted to know, are there still these sort of timed puzzle type elements to the missions, such as those that were in Watch Dogs 2? Ultimately, Watch Dogs 2 did not end up being a game that I wanted to see through to completion, because there would be these timed puzzle hacking type things that would be required, or there would be scenarios involving like security systems where you would have to stealth in very specific ways with very timed movements to avoid getting caught, or resetting the whole thing so that you had to start your infiltration process all over again. That kind of gameplay is really frustrating to me, and so I want a Watch Dogs experience that thematically has the hacking and stuff like that, but doesn't ultimately come down to timed puzzles with a bunch of dressing on top of them. And that's what Watch Dogs 2 became for me. I haven't seen any indication of timed puzzle types activities in the preview materials of Watch Dogs Legion, so I'm hopeful, but got to put a big "we'll see" on that. Now, I wouldn't have thought that the amount of material we saw for Watch Dogs Legion was lacking until they really took us on a deep dive into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In both the main event of the Ubisoft Forward, presentation, and then also for, 20, 30 minutes, something like that, in their post-show, they really took us a deep dive into the gameplay of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And that game is coming out, what's the date here? It is November 17th. So that's 19 days after Watch Dogs Legion. So with that in mind, I mean, first off, these are both presumably big open world games. I think it's really interesting. Maybe they feel it's kind of unavoidable because of COVID-19 and various things. I don't know. But putting those games so close together seems like a really unusual choice because I suspect these two games have very similar audiences, apart from people that maybe are just like really into Vikings and they're not into, the hacking theme. But as far as like the gameplay mechanics of Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed, there's a lot of overlap between those games, even in their other games like, say, Far Cry and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Anyway, so it's coming out the 17th. The developers, in talking about it, used some language that is just confusing to me. I mean, I never know when to believe what Ubisoft is saying in these promotional events. The one developer said, something about wanting to tell the real story of the Vikings, how they're not all these just brutal barbarians, mindless barbarians and stuff like that, but they're actually farmers looking for land. And I'm like, okay, well... those are two very different things. What I came to understand later in the presentation is that what they mean is some of them are farmers in addition to being warriors. They really would like to leave being warriors behind more and more and pursue a more peaceful, tranquil type of farming life, where some of them are, just really big into fighting and they just want to die in battle and stuff like that so they can get access to Valhalla, which sounds a lot like a modern extreme terrorist in some ways. But anyway, this is, even though they said that Vikings were farmers looking for land. This game is about the Viking invasion of England. And it looks like from the preview, the extended preview, that your character finds themselves allied with some Saxons. And so you find yourself, much like some characters in the Vikings TV series, you find yourself kind of between two peoples. The old ways of the Vikings, and they're just wanting to raid and be warriors, and that really kind of harsh kind of philosophy of life. And then also the Saxons. Now, that's not to say that the Saxons weren't brutal and have all kinds of problems too, but it looked like they are that your characters may be wanting to integrate Vikings into Anglican or Anglo-Saxon or whatever it is, life in a peaceful way. You're developing a settlement over time, and you are upgrading your settlement, which in turn upgrades your own abilities, and I like the sound of that mechanically. Let's see here, what else? There's a large enemy variety, and it's said to be the largest enemy variety of any Assassin's Creed game, and I think that's really cool. I love to see lots of variety in enemies. Definitely more of an emphasis on combat, it looked like to me, than any previous Assassin's Creed game. They did say that stealth is sometimes what you're going to do, and that the Vikings were also like, masters of stealth when they needed to be. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. Well, basically what they said is the Vikings would do anything it takes, whether that's, being guns blazing on the swords blazing on the battlefield, or, stealthy and brutal guerrilla tactics. They'll do whatever it takes to win, and so I guess that kind of makes sense, but I don't know that Vikings as a culture were known for their really stealthy tactics. Anyway, you can dual wield all weapons in the game, and that includes shields, and there's a stunning system involved in the combat, and so, it just looks like, for those that are maybe wanting to really see the series return to an emphasis on stealth and combat to be kind of like a last resort, this is definitely not going to be the game for them. They're really leaning more and more into open combat, and it seems like less and less on stealth. But having said that, there was one cool stealth element mechanic brought back into the game, and that's crowd blending from the early Assassin's Creed games, where you would put your hood on and you would try to blend in with a group of people that are walking through a village so that you don't get noticed by the town guards. That mechanic is returning, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's kind of like seeing an old friend, you know? I was like, oh yeah, I could totally get into that again. Exploration is also a big part of the game, reportedly, and I'm a big fan of games that reward exploration. You're going to be hunting and foraging to refill health and to fortify equipment. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by fortify equipment, but it has been said before that rather than having a huge variety of weapons you're going to find, you're going to get a smaller number of weapons that you can then continually upgrade over the course of the game and really kind of specialize in one weapon type or one weapon loadout. And but the thing that really caught my attention was that you're hunting and foraging to refill your health. It was explained later in the post-show that your health does not automatically regenerate, and that's a really significant thing for this series. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's really going to depend on how easy and plentiful opportunities are to refill your health. They showed one way was to do a fishing game, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to want to go hunting and fishing every time between combat to fill up my health again. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's really going to, there's a big what if in my mind as to how that plays out over the course of, like, say, 4 hours of playing the game. How often do I feel like refilling my health is this excursion that takes me away from what I really want to be doing in the game? I don't know. So that could be a risk that just doesn't pay off as far as I'm concerned. There are activities and challenges throughout the open world to strengthen yourself and your settlement, and so that's encouraging to me as someone that likes to grind for experience if I feel like a game is a little too difficult for me. And it looks like the experience system is still retained from the last two Assassin's Creed games, so it's still very much an RPG. One thing that's new is assaults and gathering up recruiting fighters to join you in these big assaults that are kind of like big event moments. I think they're probably going to be similar to some of those battles that you would go over to in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I think, did Origins have them too? I can't remember, but Odyssey would have these like battles. You would go and it was this instanced event that was just a big battlefield that you had to stay on until the battle was done. So it seems like it's probably that kind of a thing. They did explain at one point when the gameplay demo showed the main character fighting a boss in a supernatural environment that your hero had just been poisoned in some way, and so their mind was being affected, and that explains kind of the supernatural weirdness of this kind of encounter. But in a brief clip in another bit of gameplay, they showed you fighting something that was calling down lightning, and they were pulling from Norse mythology clearly. And so I don't know how much they're going to be leaning into the first civilization stuff, the ancient sci-fi stuff that the series has also been known for in its by its most devoted fans. And I would love to see them lean into that more. Really, what I want from Ubisoft is an open world Skyrim type of game, and this may be the closest that we get. So I'd really like it if they leaned into magic and sci-fi elements as much as possible. My guess is it's going to be more in the DLC as it was in the last two games, that they lean into those kinds of elements. It looks like religion is going to be a significant part of the story as they were as the character is moving through towns. You know, you can overhear someone, clearly some kind of a Christian family, saying that, encouraging his daughter to eat because they should not neglect anything that the Lord has provided, and so just a little reference like that just reminds me, okay, as has been true in many, in fact, maybe all of the Assassin's Creed games, religion is often very much at the center, or at least very heavily attached to the main story. And there are also these offering altars that you visit throughout the world. I'm not sure mechanically what they do for you. It seems like they maybe unlock something or do something for you. There's some gameplay incentive to go to these altars. One thing that I'm curious about is, since your character is going to be kind of straddling the line between these two cultures, which are both of them very strongly defined by their common or popular religious beliefs, I'm wondering if you will have any freedom to maybe convert to Christianity in some sense, or to distance yourself from the religious beliefs of the Viking culture and start leaning in the direction of the Christian beliefs, as distorted as they may have been from pure Christianity of the Anglo-Saxons. And so, yeah, I'm just very curious thematically, as I always am, I think, with Ubisoft games, because they are so often playing in these playgrounds of philosophy and religion. So I'll be very interested to see kind of what my options are when this game comes out. And again, that's coming November 17th. I really hope, again, that the closeness between these Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and the comparative lack of emphasis on Watch Dogs Legion, despite the fact that it's coming first 19 days before Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I hope that's not an indication that they're kind of giving up on Watch Dogs Legion in terms of marketing. I mean, not obviously giving up, but giving it the short end of the stick for sure. Do they know this game is troubled and not going to do as well, and so they're not giving as much emphasis to it in marketing? I don't know. I could be reading way too much into this, but I did think it was curious and noteworthy that Watch Dogs Legion was getting less marketing time. Now, they did say there's going to be another Ubisoft Forward later on this year, so is it possible that that could come in mid-October, and they really do a heavy emphasis on Watch Dogs Legion? I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. One thing that they definitely didn't shy away from introducing, even though it's not coming till February of 2021, is Far Cry 6. And this was introduced by way of a cinematic trailer, actually kind of two. Well, a cinematic trailer that was more kind of conceptual and moody, and then a story sequence, not so much a trailer, but like a story sequence that's in the game. And this, I was wondering what they're going to do with the Far Cry series after New Dawn, if they're going to go forward in that timeline. As all the games, I believe, have been chronologically sharing the same universe and moving forward in the chronology throughout the series, except for Primal. But this is called Far Cry 6, and so that says to me, okay, it is moving the story forward, it is moving forward. It's not a spin-off, you know. But even if you just ignore Far Cry New Dawn, the ending of Far Cry 5 had to have changed the entire world forever. So is what we've seen in the trailer for Far Cry 6 compatible with the events at the end of Far Cry 5? Maybe. Maybe you could argue that, okay, New Dawn is a spin-off that's jumping forward in the future, but I don't know. It seemed pretty catastrophic at the end of 5. So what does that mean? Does this mean this is taking place in the same timeline? Are we going to see that, like the Southern Hick, I think his name is Herc, who has been a mainstay in many of the games? Is he going to be coming back? He's seemed like kind of a silly character to be a part of this game, Far Cry 6, that looks to have a lot of gravitas, looks to be very serious, looks to be very political, and also urban. All we saw of this game in the game world was in an urban environment, and I don't think we've had a single urban Far Cry game. The series has been defined by I was going to say adventuring, but like making your way through the world in wilderness environments, in untamed wilderness environments, with little pockets of civilization here and there. But all we've seen so far in both of the main segments that they showed of Far Cry 6 said to me urban. And so I think that's great. I think that's exactly what the franchise should do at this point, if it's not going to go further into the future into a straight up freaking sci-fi thing that takes place after Far Cry New Dawn. I think going to an urban city environment, really cool. And maybe part of that is just because I'm enjoying Homefront: The Revolution right now, which is essentially a very Far Cry feeling urban first-person shooter. But anyway, yeah, I've really enjoyed the Far Cry series. It definitely stumbles here and there in different ways in each of the games, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen when Far Cry 6 comes out but will it come out on February 18th, 2021? We've definitely seen some delays from Ubisoft games in the last year or two, and I think it's very likely that we'll see another delay. My guess is they just wanted to put this out there and say, hey, this is coming, get excited. But between now and February is a long time, so a lot could certainly happen. But I'm willing to wait so that they can get it right. I love that they got the actor who played Gus so-and-so, whatever his name is, the bad guy in Breaking Bad, who ran Los Pollos Hermanos, I think was the name of the restaurant, and then he also makes an appearance as a major character in Better Call Saul. And so seeing an actor with that kind of screen power, come and be in a game like this and be presumably the chief villain of the game, I'm very interested. And it also maybe says something about the tone they're going to try and set this time around. I can't think of them ever having this prominent of a screen actor play a villain in one of their games. This is possibly the most prominent screen actor they've had playing a villain, at least in the Far Cry series. And so I would love it if it took maybe a more serious tone. I think there's lots of cool possibilities, but there's still a lot more that I need to see. And as I've commented before, I just don't feel like Ubisoft is very trustworthy, despite the fact that I enjoy a lot of their games and enjoy them quite a lot. I feel like the way that they communicate, intentionally or not, ends up not being accurate to the truth. So, anyway, that's all I have to say for now. I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments below. You can stay tuned later this month. I'll be bringing more reactions to other UN-E3 events, like Xbox's thing going on in a couple of weeks, and something else is going on in a couple of weeks too. I can't keep track of it all. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll look forward to sharing more thoughts with you, and I would love, again, to get your thoughts in the comments below. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Do you believe in the supernatural?
Download the Legacy Edition of Spirit Blade, a full past audio drama, for free at spiritblade.com.